way to crypto.
Hello and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the day's top stories. Bulls maintain momentum on Dalal Street. Market rises for a seventh session, longest winning streak in 20 months. Bond prices rally, yield falls to the lowest level in over 2 weeks. Oil prices near a 6-month low as recession fears weigh. The prospects of US and Europe reviving the Iran nuclear deal also keep oil prices under pressure. Fresh boost for the agriculture and hospitality sectors. Union Cabinet approves a more than 34,000 crore rupee package for cheap agri loans. 50,000 crore rupee booster for the hospitality sector. India moves towards a uniform format for mobile phone and laptop charges. Consumer Affairs Ministry meets industry players and forms 3 panels to look into the issues. UK inflation hits double digits for the first time in 40 years. Inflation tops 10.1% as food and energy price surge continues. With bulls taking charge of Dalal Street and Sensex back at 60,000 levels, the time is right to remember the eternal bull of the Indian stock market, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Let me welcome in our global business editor, Udayan Mukherjee, who has spent a considerable amount of time over the years in conversation with the big bull himself. Always known for his witty anecdotes, Udayan, let me test your memory on this and see which are the ones that are most prominent in your mind.
You know, I can go on talking for hours about Rakesh's funny stories, but you know, let me start with one saucy one for you. But you know, this was around his 50th birthday when actually he had started hobnobbing with a lot of Bollywood heroines. So he'd come to, we met shortly after a meeting that he had with Priyanka Chopra. So when I met him, I said, Rakesh, I see that you've become quite the ladies' man. I know these days, Priyanka Chopra and all. I mean, is she your favorite Bollywood heroine now or what? You know, he just, without batting an eyelid, looked at me and said, no, Udayan, I actually love Rekha. So, you know, for a moment I was thrown. And I thought it was the Rekha, the Bollywood heroine, you know, Amitabh Bachchan Rekha. But actually he was talking about his wife Rekha. And I burst out laughing because it was such a clever thing to say that I love Rekha and not Priyanka Chopra. And he just looked at me and said, hey, young man, don't you go around trying those tricks with me. You know, don't teach your grandmother how to suck eggs, as they say in England. So he stumped me with that one, the Rekha versus Priyanka Chopra. Well, there are so many more, you know. But the time when I asked him about why you trade so often and you're such a successful investor, why do you spend so much time trading? And again, he said, you know, Udayan, investing is like sipping wine slowly and trading is like downing tequila shots. Both of us know which is good for health, the wine, but both of us also know which is more thrilling, the tequila, right? Which is the trading. So, I mean, he could reel off these things just one after the other. I mean, and I mean, this is a great one. I mean, you know, his one pet theme, as you will remember too, is that retail investors will finally come to Indian equities and they will invest their money there and they will become the driving force of the Indian stock market rather than FIIs. And now it is playing out in front of our eyes over the last couple of years, what he said. But you know, back in the day, and he would say this 10 years ago, and sometimes I would rip him saying, Rakesh, what happened to retail? He said, they will come, Udayan, they will come. And then there's this Hindi line he's used to say that why they would come. And I remember this. He said, Jalta hua cigarette koi nahi chhod sakta. When the market gets hot, they will all come. Jalta hua cigarette koi nahi chhod sakta. So, you know, he was one of a kind. I mean, these kind of stories, how can one forget?
Now, about his temper, because we can't not talk about that. I mean, I know, talking about being a novice, I've had the experience of having a few expletives on the phone slammed down on me. But, you know, you must have several examples of that and give us an insight. And, you know, what caused it? Was it just when he was really busy, you know, with the markets and during those hours? Or were there other things that would also tip him off?
No. Rakesh was a very opinionated man, as you know. I mean, he had an opinion about everything, from Rahul Gandhi to Donald Trump. You could talk to him about anybody, and never a mild conversation. I mean, he would be spewing a betel nut out of his mouth and foaming, and that is how he was, as you well know. I mean, I was at the receiving end of it once. I mean, this is hearsay. I did not see it in front of my eyes, but apparently the market had collapsed one day, and he was watching me on television, and he was very angry and upset because of the way maybe the market was limit down that day. And I heard later, a lot of people told me the story, that he picked up a heavy paperweight and flung it at the plasma screen and shattered the television set where I was speaking. So that was directed at me. I mean, this is hearsay, but I think it was true, this story. So, I mean, this is how angry he could get at times. And there was this time when this whole Ratan Tata and the Tata group was his temple. I mean, he really worshipped that group. So, you know, there was this Cyrus Mistry versus Ratan Tata spat going on at that point in his full bloom. And I walked in to find Rakesh talking about Cyrus Mistry, and I cannot tell you the kind of adjectives that he was using. He was so angry. If Cyrus had walked into that room, then I fear to think what may have happened. He was so angry. You know, there were other times. I mean, there was Donald Trump once, and I was saying, you know, Rakesh, Donald Trump might win the election. And he was foaming in the mouth, and he said, there is no way any American man or woman who has a daughter who could ever go out and vote for that man. And he was proved to be wrong. But, you know, there were several times I've seen him like so livid. But the good thing about him, Abha, was that he would cool down as quickly as his temper had risen. So he would be very angry, and within minutes, he would have forgotten all about it. So, and maybe even said sorry or patted the object of his anger on the shoulder and moved on. So he blow hot, blow cold kind of guy.
Absolutely. And I think you're bang on in terms of remembering him for the larger than life figure that he was, the belief that he had, the conviction that he had. And, you know, I think that he will be somebody who's remembered and whose memory will remain with anyone associated with the markets for a very, very long time. Udayan, thank you so much for joining us for that special conversation on the Big Bull. The Bulls have made a strong comeback after a gloomy few months. The party does seem to have resumed on the Lal Street. Sensex and Nifty ending at a 4-month high today. Sensex reclaiming the 60,000 mark after over 4 months, and Nifty rising for a 7th straight day, now kissing distance away of 18,000. The rally came on the back of moderating inflation, a decline in global commodity prices, and inflow of foreign portfolio investors into the Indian markets. Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv, HDFC Life, Hero MotoCorp were among the top Nifty gainers, while the Airtel too was up 2% following upfront payment for 5G spectrum auction. On the flip side, Apollo Hospitals continue to fall. M&M and Tata Motors saw some profit booking. Maruti and Cipla were the other blue chip laggards. While the bulls are charging ahead on the Lal Street, is the rally here to stay? What should investors keep in mind when investing in this market? My colleague Sakshi Batra caught up with Sanjiv Bhasin of IIFL. Listen in to what he has to say to investors.
Sensex has scaled 60,000 after 4 months. Help us understand what is really leading to this optimism and what lies ahead.
Yeah, hi. So, Shakshi, the left out feeling is humongous. We were grossly oversold. Fear was at its highest. And you saw almost despondency and capitulation. And all led by the so-called foreign investors who have been, you know, really at the wrong end of the barrel. And now you are seeing retracement. So I think that we were very, very oversold. We were all following cues of the US, which were not so, you know, for once in 70 years, we had a reverse, you know, what we call a reverse opposite reaction. Given that our inflation, our yields, and our local business was responding very strongly. And last but not least, it's the wall of retail investors who's put his money where his mouth is. So this is the, you know, what we call the 75th year of independence. And this is truly a year of celebrating the, you know, coming of the retail investor, and he's here to stay.
So, Mr. Bhasin, just help us understand that we are still 4% away from the all-time highs. The broader markets still have to play catch-up. But when the valuations were lower, just like how you pointed out, the last 1.5 months, what kind of big changes did you make in your portfolio? What did you really add?
So see, we are looking for a mix of stocks. If you want, I can mention 3-4 big ideas. So and we have been doing a sip in that. Firstly would be Ambuja Cement. We think the takeover of Ambuja and ACC by Adani means that they get the 35% of cement costs is power and infrastructure. And automatically, Adani being in the best place for that, Ambuja becomes a star player. Secondly, DLF. If you came to Delhi or Gurgaon, you'd see that there is no space vacant, whether commercial or real estate or individually. Houses are going through the roof and real estate prices are here to stay. Plus the largest players, DLF, Godrej will be laughing their way to the bank as prices rise and occupancy picks up. Thirdly, Kotak Bank, I think, which is one of the best pedigree private banks, which has never had any issue on NPAs and which I think can be a very, very steady performer. And fourth would be HCL Tech, which I think that definitely will be a very, very key beneficiary of IT spending. And, the whole despondency was that spending budgets will go down, but outsourcing continues to be a very, very key theme. And you can add a Ashok Leyland and a Tata Power, which I think in their respective businesses are doing the best they've done in the last, maybe 10 years. So these 5-6 stocks, if you did a SIP, even though the stocks have gone up, a SIP would be ideal because then the next 6-12 weeks, you'll get a large part of the volatility in the prices.
Also, lastly, Mr. Bhasin, I want to understand from you, where do you see the Nifty progressing now towards, since we are closer to 18,000, 60,000 on the Sensex, where exactly do you see the Nifty inching towards the end of the year and the years going forward from here?
Well, as a disclosure, Eicher Motor was one of my top picks, closer to 2,500, and Eicher's numbers have really been the best ever in the history of the company. I told you of IRB Infra. Look at ICICI. Now, ICICI has actually taken the space of HDFC after that merger talk. But I would definitely be looking at large caps to play the, way forward. Also, let me tell you some of the OEMs like Bosch and Motherson Sumi, which can be very, very big beneficiaries of capex spending and revival of the semiconductor market, with Motherson again declaring a bonus and Bosch coming out with very, very good numbers in this quarter.
You could soon get rid of the multiple phone and laptop charging cables at home. The central government has formed 3 committees to look at a common format for handsets, laptops and other accessories. This follows steps by the European Union to have uniform formats in the next 2 years. Let's take a look at what the issue is really all about.
One of the most innovative companies of all times is probably the worst offender as well. While all other mobile handset manufacturers followed a similar format of charging cables, Apple had its own design and format and hasn't budged from its stance till now. It's only now that the Cupertino-based tech major is falling in line with the others and adopting the USB-C format. Handset charging has rapidly evolved over the past 2 decades into the most prevalent formats today. The oldest format is the micro USB charger used in most handsets until about 2 years ago. It has a maximum data transfer of 480 Mbps and can deliver power up to 4.5 watts, enough for a basic smartphone. The lightning cable used by Apple has a similar data transfer rate but delivers 20 watts of power. The latest format is the USB-C with a much enhanced data transfer rate and the ability to even charge laptops. The micro USB is still being used by feature phones and most electronic gadgets like speakers, wireless headphones and anything that needs a recharge. The lightning cable is an Apple proprietary product currently used for all iPhones, iPads and AirPod cases. What the latest Android handsets use is the USB-C cable, a format even Apple is slowly veering towards, and is expected to be a global format. This June, the European Union set the ball rolling by making it mandatory for all small and medium electronic devices to adopt the USB-C format by 2024. Laptop manufacturers have been given another 40 months to comply. EU claims the move will save the residents of its 27 nations €250 million every year on charging cables and 11,000 tons in e-waste. A similar move is underway in the US, where several lawmakers are steering a bill in both houses of the Congress. Apple, which has been the lone holdout, is slowly changing course, slowly adopting the USB-C format in the latest MacBooks and accessories. The biggest hurdle in the adoption of a common charging format and getting rid of the web of wires at your home is the cost involved. Cheap handsets still use the older micro USB format, and an upgrade will cost money which will have to be passed on to the customer. There is also a feeling that the move may throttle innovation. Hopefully, with India now moving towards a uniform format for standardizing the tangled web of charging, consumers in the world's second largest mobile phone market may have one less tech trouble to tackle. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
And here's what else is making news in the corporate world. Bharti Airtel has paid 8,312 crore rupees to the Department of Telecom, settling 5G spectrum dues ahead of schedule to free up cash for future investments. According to the DOT's norms, companies have the option to pay dues in 20 equated annual installments. However, Airtel chose to pay dues for 4 years upfront. Air India joins hands with RateGain for its AirGain product to dynamically adjust prices with real-time and high-quality airfare data. The move will help the Maharaja compete globally with leading airlines. Partnership between Singapore-based Jetstar Asia and India's biggest airline Indigo has gone live. This will allow Jetstar customers to Singapore and Southeast Asia to book direct flights to several Indian cities. Jetstar customers looking for low-cost travel options can now access Indigo's low fares. Shares of Next Digital jumped in trade after Ashok Leyland announced the merger of Hinduja Leyland Finance with Next Digital. The proposed merger intends to unlock value for shareholders, integrate business operations, and bring in efficiency in cash management. Let's take a very quick break on that note. Back with more stories on the other side.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Back. The centre has decided to restore a subsidy on small agricultural loans. The Union Cabinet today approved an interest subvention of 1.5% on short-term agri loans of up to 3 lakh rupees. This is for a period of 3 years and will put an additional burden of 34,856 crore rupees on the exchequer. The Cabinet also approved an enhanced credit guarantee limit for the hospitality sector to 5 lakh crores from the current 4.5 lakh crores.
The central government has decided to provide 1.5% interest subvention to these banks so that the scheme should continue and our farmers should benefit directly from this. 34,856 crore rupees will be provided by the central government to the banks so that short-term agriculture loan will be provided to the farmers as usual.
Elon Musk's favorite cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, rallied a whopping 15% in the past 24 hours. The meme coin has gained around 40% from the beginning of this month. Let's head across to our crypto reporter, Akanksha Chaturvedi, to understand what's driving this frenzy.
That's right. Dogecoin has gained 15.75% intraday since the last 24 hours. And there are three main reasons driving this rally in the price of Dogecoin. The first is meme coin gains. Meme coin gains have given tailwinds to the price of Dogecoin. Dogecoin has gained 40% since the beginning of August. The next reason is an endorsement by billionaire investor Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban said that Dogecoin has better applications than other cryptocurrencies like Cardano. This has increased the trust of investors in the crypto token. And the last reason driving this rally in the price of Dogecoin is the innovation in the technology behind it. Now, blockchain developers will be able to use Dogecoin to build decentralized applications on the blockchain network. This has increased the utility of the cryptocurrency.
Thank you for that, Akanksha. Defending India's decision to buy oil from Russia amid Moscow's ongoing war with Ukraine, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said that it is the government's moral duty to provide best deals to people who cannot afford higher energy prices. He said India is not doing it in any defensive manner. Listen in.
You have to, at this time, oil prices are unreasonably high, okay? Not only are oil prices high, so are gas prices. A lot of them, lot of traditional suppliers to Asia are also diverting them to Europe, because Europe is buying less oil and gas from Russia, or can buy less gas from Russia. So Europe is also actually buying much more from the Middle East and from other sources who would have supplied India. So it is a situation today where every country will try naturally to get the best deal possible for its citizens, will try to cushion the impact of this high energy prices. And that is exactly what we are doing. Now, we are not doing it in a defensive way. I mean, we have been very open and very honest about our interest. I have a country which has a per capita income of $2,000. These are not people who can afford higher energy prices. It is my obligation, my moral duty to actually ensure that I get them the best deal that I can from the world. And I think once you lay it out very openly and honestly, I think people accept it. They may not always appreciate it, but once you have it is there, and you're not trying to be too clever about it. You actually have laid out your interests in a very direct manner. My sense is that the world accepts that as a kind of reality, and that is what will happen out here. And I can tell you, as someone who deals very intensively with the United States, I do see that not just in the United States, but including in the US, that they know what our position is, and they move on with that.
What is ailing Bollywood? Is it just big budget films that are getting hammered, or is it a combination of very high star fees, big money paid for digital rights, and astronomical multiplex ticket prices? With 8 big banner flops in a row, the Hindi film industry is now resting its hopes on the Karan Johar-produced Brahmastra, slated for release on the 9th of September. For an industry which prides itself on acing the hit formula, none of the old tricks are working. So will the 9th big budget movie this year prove to be lucky and turn the tide for Bollywood? Let's take a look.
अब कुछ लोग विश्वास नहीं करते, पर जिंदगी में चमत्कार होते हैं जी।
The back-to-back failure of large-budgeted, high-profile films such as 83, Jersey, Bachchan Pandey, Heropanti 2, Shamshera, Samrat Prithviraj, Raksha Bandhan and Lal Singh Chaddha was supposed to be the movie to turn the tide for Bollywood.
मेरी मम्मी कहती थी कि जिंदगी गोलगप्पे जैसी होती है.
Helmed by none other than the golden boy of the industry. But viewers had other ideas, and the movie may end up recouping just a third of reported 180 crore rupees cost. The year so far is one Bollywood would want to forget in a hurry. For an industry which has decided its own content and formula, it's been a rude awakening. The spate of failures has been attributed to weak scripts and the fresh ideas. And coming in the way of that elusive hit are several challenges like weak scripts, a poor cost structure, and high ticket prices. A lot is riding on Brahmastra, Part 1, Shiva. After a particularly disappointing 2022 for Bollywood, a 450 crore rupees mega project and the most expensive film to come out of Bollywood. Set to release on 9th of September, an entire industry's hopes are resting on the success of the Ranveer Alia film, which features Big B and the King Khan. A fantasy adventure which has been in the making for over 4 years, Brahmastra has the crucial job of bringing the audience back to theatres for a Hindi film. To recover the money, Brahmastra will need to better the performance of the recent South Indian hits like RRR and KGF Chapter 2.
Violence, violence, violence.
While the digital rights of the film have already been sold to Hotstar with an OTT release expected in October. This gives the film producers just around 8 weeks to recover their cost from a theatrical release. Analysts, meanwhile, point to spiraling cost as one of big challenges for Bollywood. The average film with a quality star has a cost of production ranging from 30 to 100 crore rupees, most of it being the fee payable to the hero. Stars like Akshay Kumar are reportedly being paid over 100 crore rupees. Shahid Kapoor takes around 35 crore rupees. Amir Khan makes his money through a chunk of the profits, while Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan are often the producers of their films. The task for Brahmastra is a tough one. It needs to regain the confidence of the cinema goer and build a healthy foundation for the festive season leading up to Christmas, where several big stars including Salman Khan and Ajay Devgan have films lined up for release. With Krishna Gopalan, Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
And that's where we leave it on the show tonight. Thanks so much for watching.
Tensions are rising between China and Taiwan. Since Nancy Pelosi's visit to the island, China has broken into Taiwan airspace more than 20 times. If a war is unleashed, Taiwan is likely to fall short against China. Here's a look into China's 5 most powerful weapons that can set the tone if there is a war. Number 1 is China's hypersonic glide missile. This is a DF-Z7 model. It is a precision strike weapon. It is capable